Let's put that question to former Conservative Party leader, former Work and Pensions Secretary too, still a Tory MP, Sir Ian Duncan-Smith, who joins us now. A very good afternoon to you, Sir Ian.
Afternoon, Julia.
Should she be sacked? Should she resign?
I think the evidence now has mounted up. She has to go. The least she could have done was to come immediately after the budget to apologise for having screwed up the data that she gave to politicians in the chamber. But in fact, it's gone too far.
She didn't screw it up, did she? She knew what the data was.
Yeah, I know.
What
I mean is that she just gave a different story altogether. And the point is that one way or the other, she has essentially misled Parliament, which has, in my time, been a cardinal offence, because Parliament is the public.
Right. Hold on to your seats, because what I'm about to tell you is so fundamentally unfair, so spectacularly backwards, that it should end Rachel Reeves's political career immediately. We're not talking about minor policy disagreements or technical economic debates. We're talking about a budget that punishes people who get up, go to work, and do the right thing while rewarding those who don't. According to the Resolution Foundation, workers earning around £35,000 a year will be £1,400 worse off under the Chancellor's plans. Meanwhile, the Centre for Social Justice reports that 18,000 families who do not work will be £14,000 better off. Read that again. Working families losing money, non-working families gaining £14,000. That's not just unfair, that's insane, and it gets worse. Some larger benefit-dependent families will be £20,000 better off after this budget, effectively gaining what many young workers bring home in an entire year. How can anyone defend this? How can Rachel Reeves stand at the dispatch box and claim she's delivering fairness when her budget does the exact opposite? The answer is simple: she can't. This budget is indefensible, and it's time for Rachel Reeves to resign. Not because of some alleged fiscal black hole, not because of technical economic forecasts, but because she's delivered a budget that fundamentally betrays the principle that work should pay. Let's break down exactly how catastrophic this is. Quick favour before we dive into this absolute outrage. If you're watching this thinking this is completely mental, then hit that subscribe button right now. Over 92% of you haven't done it yet. It's completely free, takes 2 seconds and helps us massively. Cheers if you did. Right, let's talk about why Rachel Reeves must resign immediately. So let's start with the stark reality facing working people under this budget. According to the Resolution Foundation, which is a well-respected think tank that analyses living standards, workers earning around £35,000 a year will be £1,400 worse off. Now, £35,000 is not a fortune. It's a modest, typical salary for a young professional. A teacher in their early years, a junior nurse, someone working in marketing or administration, a mid-level civil servant. These are the people who keep the country running, who pay their taxes, who do everything society asks of them, and their reward under Rachel Reeves' budget, they're £1,400 worse off. Let's think about what £35,000 actually means in take-home terms. After tax and student loan deductions, which virtually every young professional is paying these days, you're taking home a little over £28,000. That's just over £2,300 a month. In most parts of the country, that barely covers rent, bills, food and transport. There's not much left over for savings, for holidays, for the occasional meal out, for any quality of life whatsoever. And now Rachel Reeves is taking £1,400 out of that already tight budget. That's more than a month's rent for many people. That's food for several months. That's the difference between managing and genuinely struggling. But here, where this goes from unfair to absolutely outrageous, in the very same budget, 18,000 families who do not work will be £14,000 better off. £14,000. That's more than half the take-home pay of the young professional earning £35,000 who actually goes to work every day. Think about the message that sends. You can work full-time, contribute to society, pay your taxes, do everything right, and you'll take home less additional income than someone who doesn't work at all. How is that defensible? How is that fair? How is that anything other than a complete betrayal of working people? And it doesn't end there. According to The Times, some larger benefit-dependent families will be £20,000 better off after this budget. £20,000. That's what many young workers bring home in an entire year after taxes and deductions. Imagine getting up at 6 in the morning every day, commuting to work, putting in 8 or 9 hours, dealing with office politics and difficult bosses and stressful deadlines, all to earn £20,000, and then discovering that some families are receiving that much extra in benefits without working at all. The sense of injustice must be absolutely overwhelming. The Centre for Social Justice has done further analysis that's even more damning. A British family with 3 children with at least one parent on average, universal credit and related benefits, will receive up to £46,000 next year. £46,000. Meanwhile, a family with one adult working full-time and the other part-time on the national living wage will take home £28,000. The working family is £18,000 worse off than the benefit-dependent family. How can that possibly be right? How can a system that punishes work and rewards dependency be considered fair by any definition? Here's an even more staggering statistic. To match the income of a three-child family on combined benefits, a worker would now need a salary of £71,000. To match a five-child family on benefits, you'd need closer to £90,000. Those are salaries that most people will never earn in their entire careers. £90,000 is what senior managers, experienced professionals, people at the top of their fields earn after decades of work. And yet households on benefits are receiving that level of income without working at all. The system has become completely inverted. Work is being punished, dependency is being rewarded, and Rachel Reeves thinks this is acceptable. Now, some people will argue that families with children have higher costs, which is absolutely true. But the question isn't whether families with children need support. The question is whether the system should be designed so that not working pays better than working. And under this budget, for many families, that's exactly what's happening. If you're a young couple deciding whether to both work or whether one should stay home, the financial incentive structure now actively discourages work. Why would you take a job earning £30,000 if staying home on benefits gives your family more money? The rational economic decision is not to work, and that's a catastrophic failure of policy design. The political implications of this are enormous, particularly for young voters. For years, young people have voted Labour almost by default. It's been part of cultural identity, university politics, peer pressure, tribal loyalty. Young people vote Labour because that's what young people do. But this budget should be the breaking point. This should be the moment when young voters wake up and realise that Labour is not acting in their interests. Labour is actively making their lives harder while making life easier for people who don't work. That's not left-wing. That's not progressive. That's just unfair. The principle at stake here is incredibly simple. If you work, you should always be better off than those who don't. That should not be a controversial statement. It's not about lacking compassion for people who genuinely cannot work due to disability or other legitimate reasons. It's about maintaining the basic fairness of the social contract. Society asks people to work, to contribute, to pay taxes. In return, those people should be rewarded with a higher standard of living than those who don't contribute. When that fundamental bargain breaks down, when working makes you poorer than not working, the entire system collapses. Rachel Reeves has delivered a budget that tears up this principle of fairness and replaces it with a system that rewards dependency and penalizes responsibility. She's treating people who work hard and try to build a future as if they're the problem, as if they're greedy, as if they aren't doing enough already and must do more. Meanwhile, she's showering money on households that don't work. It's backwards, it's unjust, and it's politically suicidal. There is endless debate over whether Rachel Reeves misled the public about a fiscal black hole. Honestly, that debate is irrelevant now. Whether she lied about the numbers or genuinely miscalculated doesn't matter. She should resign over the budget itself. A chancellor whose decisions leave working households poorer than benefit-dependent households has failed at the most basic level. It's a fundamental failure of judgment. If Reeves genuinely believes that this budget is fair, then she's so divorced from the reality of working people's lives that she shouldn't be chancellor. If she knows it's unfair but did it anyway for political reasons, then she lacks the integrity to hold office. Either way, she needs to go. This isn't about Conservative versus Labour. This isn't about left versus right. This is about basic fairness. And this budget fails that test completely. Young people especially need to recognise what's happening here. They're being told to work harder, earn less, and be grateful for the privilege. Meanwhile, their taxes are funding benefit payments that exceed what they'll ever earn. That's not the future anyone voted for. That's not the fairness anyone was promised. Right, that's why Rachel Reeves must resign immediately over this catastrophically unfair budget. Thanks so much for watching this breakdown of the most unjust economic policy in living memory. Make sure you're subscribed because this story is far from over. Until next time, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one.